murder a liberator, but you can't murder liberation. You can murder a revolutionary, but you can't murder revolution. And you can murder a freedom fighter, but you can't murder freedom.
You're tapped in, so let's get right to it. This is pressing news. I think you guys want to hear this. So the U.S. House of Representatives recently passed a bipartisan war powers resolution to end unauthorized U.S. military action against Iran. Okay. Now, additionally, the President Trump and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, y'all know who this guy is, right? They engaged in an explosive phone call over Israel's strikes in Lebanon. Now, with Trump demanding a halt to the military escalation. Now, you know this doesn't sit well with Bibi or the Zionist Israeli regime of Israel. They're not having it because nothing has been accomplished. If you understand their thinking, they'll be like, oh man, we did all this for what? Nothing. Now you're going to back out on us, Trump? You know, we have a deal, Trump. Hey, we have a deal. Don't stab us in the back. You know how we work. But for whatever reason, Trump is like, hey, you know what? This thing is getting out of hand. You know, and not only that, but the House of Representatives have gotten together and passed a bipartisan war powers resolution to end the unauthorized U.S. military action against Iran. That's big. That's big. So not only is Trump like, hey, man, you know, this is making me look bad with my MAGA, you know, supporting it. And the House Representatives say, yeah, man, I know Israeli lobbies, we agreed to this, but no, man, our constituents ain't liking this shit. We have to figure this out, you know. Bibi said, wait a minute, man, we ain't accomplished nothing. I needed Iran gone so the greater Israeli or Israel plan could be put into effect. You know, and hey, think about it. We don't get this done, we're going to have to leave Israel. And guess where we're going? Trump. Hey, we're already established over there, you know. Well, okay, you're not going to listen. Okay, I'm going to bomb Lebanon. I'm going to make this thing where it won't be any peace. And the Israeli regime is known for that. Those Zionists are known to wreck a ceasefire, to dismantle peace negotiations. They do these types of things, you know. They do these types of things, you know. They'll false flags. They'll bomb an American asset in a minute and say, oh, look what Iran did. Well, in this guy, oh, look what Lebanon did. They bombed your air base, U.S. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? Bibi, that's how they get out. But I don't know. Maybe it's something in the water over there at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue that's getting Trump to kind of like see the folly of this thing for real, you know? And as well, it got to be over there in Capitol Hill, you know, the same water Trump's drinking, they're drinking, because all of a sudden they have a bipartisan bill, a bipartisan bill on the War Powers Act that they passed. Give me a break. Something's up, right? I don't know. But don't think that Benjamin Netanyahu is going to take this land down, all right? Nah, that's not his MO. That is not that regime's MO. They're going to figure out Mossad is at work as I speak, and they're going to implement something to wreck what America and Trump has in mind of doing. They're going to stop this. They have to, in their minds. They have to. Because by themselves, they can't handle Iran. Let's be 100, even though they have nuclear weapons. They are not ready for Iran, just period, you know. You know, imagine them going into that war by themselves without the United States and, you know, Bahrain, Saudi Arabia, UAE, you know, Qatar, Kuwait helping. All those missiles and drones, guess where they would have been directed? And Israel would have been hollering uncle or raising the white flag or either threatening to shoot a nuke. And I'm pretty sure that's the last thing they want to do. But in any respect, man, the war powers resolution, man, the vote, the House passed a concurrent, resolution, 215 to 208. So they got it by 7 votes. So we want to know who were those 7, if such a thing exists, if such a mechanism exists where you can find out who voted against this. You know, You would want to know these things about these people, and it gives you an idea. It will give you an idea once you know they are. It gives you an idea. Want to look further into their get out. Who do they sponsor? Who sponsors them? What are their ideologies? How do they see the world? Not hard call. Not. I don't think that 208 would be. You couldn't miss calling the names. You could probably get all 208 men without missing. You know what I mean? But yeah, so the House did pass the concurrent resolution 215 to 208, directing President Trump to end hostilities and remove U.S. armed forces from unauthorized actions in Iran within 30 days. Okay. So I have to say, then that means Iran won. Iran won. So Trump has 1 month to try to hammer them into submission or just tuck tail. That's his off ramp. House representative gave him an off ramp. Take it. Take it. You always said, man, there's nothing over there we want. We don't need their oil. We don't need Strait of Hormuz. Yeah, take it. Take the off ramp, But yeah, 4 Republicans sided with Democrats to pass the symbolic but politically significant measure. Kudos to those 4 Republicans, the context, lawmakers pushed the resolution due to concerns over the economic fallout. It took them over 3 months to realize the damage that thing did, that war with Iran did to the American public. It took them 3 months. And I would guess that Israel and the United States together, they set both regimes. Yeah, United States regime and the Israeli regime sat together and said, okay, our window is about 3 months. Let's get it done in 3 months. Let's see if we can make it happen in 3 months. All right. Of course, Bibi told him, man, we can do this in a week. Trump bit. Yeah, didn't happen. Anyway, but you have a 3-month window, excuse me. You had a 3-month window to get done what you thought you could do. It didn't happen. Now you have 30 days. I'm pretty sure a lot of people are suggesting to Trump, man, just leave it alone. Keep the weapons you got. You don't fire them. Let's go. And I would like to see them leaving in the next 2 weeks. All right. But again, this is something that has affected the American people in ways that Trump does not give one flying flick about. And those that 208 that voted that this war continues. People need to understand. You need to find out who these people are. And if I were you, if they are up for re-election or election, get rid of them. Get rid of them. We'll be better off for it, because they're bigger fish to fry. Iran was not an issue. Like Iraq wasn't an issue. Like Syria was not an issue. But let Bibi tell it, all of them had weapons of mass destruction, or they were state ran terrorists ran states and da 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 da. I mean, the biggest terrorists in the region calling other people terrorists, and people were eating that shit up. That's crazy. That is some crazy stuff. But the American people have suffered as a result of this, no doubt about that. Right? We're sending Israel tens of billions of dollars yearly. We're sending them a pretty penny every year, in the hundreds of billions. They have free medical care over there. They have free education. They help their citizens, with farming, businesses, whatever, on our dollar, on the taxpayers' dollar. While here in the United States, we don't have free health care. We don't have free education. A lot of us have jobs, but the jobs don't pay flick. It don't help you get rid of those bills that are steady piling up, But anyway, yeah, it was over the economic fallout, the mounting costs exceeding $100 billion since this thing started. $100 billion. What could the United States government did in this country with $100 billion other than give it to ICE or DHS or AI corporations, data centers being built on taxpayers' dollars, things like that? What could $100 million have done for the citizens, the homeless, those with mental health issues, those with health issues, those with employment issues, those with education issues? What could $100 million have done for the citizens of the United States? I really hope that a lot of you who voted for these people who are doing what they're doing to the American population, to the citizen of the country, I hope you're happy. Yeah, and I don't think you're no well off than anybody else, you know. So I don't know, but anyway, yeah, these costs exceeded over $100 billion. All right, and spiking gas prices. I forgot to mention that the gas prices are just through the roof. You know, I take a trip up Northern California, and every bit of $400 out of my pocket just for gas. Oh, was I angry? But yeah, gas prices out of the roof, you know. As this war with Iran drags on into its third month, we, the American citizen, the citizenry of this country are suffering as a result of this unnecessary war. All right. Now, Trump's phone call to Netanyahu was a heated exchange, let it be told. There are reports that the phone call was heated, actually was heated. Profanity was used. You know, and Trump, he has a potty mouth. He's going to cuss and fuss. He's going to cuss some people out. He ain't going to curse. Well, he might curse them out too, but he's going to cuss some people out. That's just what he did. Trump is a thug. Trump is a wannabe mafioso type of guy. He wants to be a mob figure. You know, he thinks he's a tough guy. You know. Anyway, the heated exchange did take place between President Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu, Prime Minister of Israel. President Trump did confirm reports of an expletive latent call where he called Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu fucking crazy. I quote, fucking crazy, and yell, "What the fuck are you doing?" Unquote. Well, I don't know. You gotta give me a maybe Israel don't run, United States political, arena or the president. I don't know. But anyway, that call was as a result of Israel bombing. They just did just some unnecessary strikes on Lebanon, killing scores of people, innocent people, women and children, and men. But Lebanon and Iran talks anyway. Trump was perturbed because Israel's continuous fighting with Hezbollah in Lebanon was severely complicating Washington's separate peace and negotiation efforts with Iran. The outcome of this whole thing, though, is that, following the call, Trump publicly announced on Truth Social that he had convinced Netanyahu not to launch a major raid on Beirut and that Israeli troops had been turned around. Trump also claimed he spoke with Hezbollah representatives and reached a tentative agreement to stop cross-border shooting, although sporadic fighting and Israeli strikes in southern Lebanon have nonetheless continued. Okay. Now, that's my take on it. And, I'm going to give you a little something here from Tapped. You are, tapped in. This is the Art of Political Discourse. But I also have a clip. As always, I want to drop that clip for greater context. Before I do, please like, share, follow, comment, and subscribe to Tap, because you are tapped in. You are tapped in. All right. We appreciate your participation and viewership. We also like to ask you guys again to help us get our subscriptions up. And we want to say ahead of time, thank you very much for liking, for sharing, and subscribing to Tapped. All right. Now let's get to this clip. And it is, I think it's courtesy of CBS. Yeah, CBS News. Okay. Let's have that.
We begin with a wave of new hostilities between the U.S. and Iran as the administration struggles to move on from the war. At any moment, the House is set to vote on a war powers resolution that would direct the president to remove U.S. forces from the conflict. Now, remember, that same vote was abruptly pulled last month before the...
Well, as I reported here, the vote did go through. This piece was maybe an hour ago. The vote just came down the pipes. I was lucky enough to catch it when it just landed. And yeah, that resolution was passed. The War Powers Act has been enacted, and it now constrains or restrains Donald J. Trump from furthering this war of aggression against Iran. He has 30 days to get military assets and personnel out of the area. All right. Great thing that they did over there in the House of Representatives.
The House left for recess, in part because of attendance issues on the Republican side and concerns about further defections. But today's vote comes after the Pentagon confirmed yesterday it fired a Hellfire missile at an oil tanker in the Arabian Gulf that it says was in violation of the U.S. naval blockade. And then hours later, Iran firing a wave of missiles and drone attacks at neighboring Gulf countries, including an attack on Kuwait's international airport that killed one person. Secretary of State Marco Rubio was back on Capitol Hill today defending comments he made yesterday that the war with Iran is over despite these latest escalations.
So yeah, that makes sense. And I'm hoping, this is new to me, this is all breaking news. I'm hoping they have a discussion that they question this Marco Rubio guy. This guy's a real character, another coward. Question him about this AI thing, these data centers popping up everywhere, these AI techs and corporations just nilly-willy going in and constructing data centers without the blessing of the will of against the will of the people. We have governors, from what I understand, Whitmer over in Michigan, going against the wishes of her constituents and allowing AI tech giants to build data centers in that state using taxpayers' dollars. I mean, these are multi-billion-dollar companies or corporations, and they're using taxpayers' money to destroy the environment. Make it make sense, please.
Is the war still on, or is the war off?
Well, Epic Fury has concluded. On occasion, in order to protect our own forces, we don't just strike the drones, we strike the people who launch those drones. These are completely defensive in nature, and but they are happening in response to an Iranian action.
If the war is over, I have a simple question. Who won?
First of all, Epic Fury is over, which is what you would consider the war.
The American people are not stupid, Mr. Secretary. We all know that this war is not over. Just last night, the U.S. and Iran exchanged fire again, this time over Karg Island. We still have not reached a deal, despite the president's promise that a deal is right around the corner.
Hi, Mrs. Thompson. How can we help you?
Well, we'll be... Oh, wow. Yeah, we'll see, right? We'll see if this War Powers Act really has any weight to it.
Today, in an interview with the New York Post, President Trump offered little clarity on his negotiating strategy or how long the naval blockade with Iran will remain in place.
We're having a very great success in Iran militarily.
So you think the blockade will still be in place by Labor Day?
I don't know. I mean, I think it could be, but I think it's unlikely. I think that we'll have it. I think this will resolve itself fairly quickly.
And are your tactics where you say something and then change it and then do a peace deal and then break the ceasefire or whatever, is that all about trying to keep the Iranians off balance? Are you sort of messaging to them?
No,
that was all about trying to keep the market stable. You know, some of these reporters act like they ain't got any sense. All that back and forth, that rhetoric, that propaganda narratives that Trump was spinning, that had nothing to do with Iran. They don't care. It was about the markets. It's about the market. Oh my God.
Because people at home sometimes I hear that they feel anxious and confused.
It's good. It's good if they're confused and the Iranians are confused.
Right.
But no, it's just the way I am.
In that same interview, President Trump also addressing the tense phone call he had with Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu earlier this week, during which he told the Israeli leader to scale back attacks on Beirut over concerns Israel could be derailing peace negotiations with Iran.
That's what they're good for. They're good for derailing negotiations, ceasefires, peace talks. You know, that's what they're good for.
Axios reported that you had a phone call with Bibi Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of Israel, in which you were angry with him. You said, "Are you effing crazy? What are you effing doing? I helped you stay out of jail." Is that true? Did you speak to him in those terms?
I did. I wouldn't say angry. I was a little bit perturbed at his constantly fighting with Lebanon.
He helped him stay out of jail. How did he do that? By starting this war with Iran. Sometimes they tell on themselves.
Prime Minister Netanyahu also responded, trying to downplay the disagreement between the two leaders.
President confirmed that he said you're effing crazy. How did you react to that? What really happened in that call?
Well, I'm not going to get into details of our conversations. We've had thousands, well, a lot of them. Sometimes we have, as in the best of families, you have these tactical disagreements. We always find a way to work them out, and we do so as great friends. We can disagree in the morning, and by the afternoon we have common action.
And joining me now is NBC News White House correspondent Monica Alba. NBC's Sahil Kapoor is on Capitol Hill, and NBC News national security correspondent Courtney Cubie. All of you are here to talk about this. And Monica, let me begin with you, because the president also suggested he would be willing to meet, presumably in person, with the Ayatollah. That's unheard of. And obviously our viewers remember that the Ayatollah.
I don't think the Ayatollah is going to be that damn dumb to meet up with Trump so Trump can make like he did this, and then comes back to the United States or is on Air Force One talking about, oh yeah, how damaged he was, and we did him a lot of, we dig our missiles, No, I don't think the Ayatollah is that damn crazy, or that gullible, But in terms of Benjamin Netanyahu, he said, yeah, families, they fight, they argue. And he's aligning himself in a familiar way with Donald J. Trump, who's also his father, his grandfather, from Bavaria, somewhere over there in that region, in Eastern Europe. But Maleskowi, who goes by Netanyahu, he's European, and so he pretty much had that right. They're all related in some aspect, but and that's what I think I'll start calling him, that's what I think I'll start calling him. Yeah. Malinkowski. Malinkowski. Yeah, that is Benjamin Netanyahu's true last name. His true surname, original surname before his family Hebraized it. Yeah, okay. The Jewish. Anyway, yeah.
Was struck by U.S. action during this conflict. So that would be certainly a tense topic. Is this a sense of the president, again, shifting strategy, throwing additional things into the conversation to keep things off balance? Or is there maybe no greater explanation of it?
Yeah, it's something we have seen time and time again from the president, Kelly, where the president kind of muses about an idea, even though it may not really be based in the reality of it. And also it raises all sorts of questions about how that would work or whether anyone from the Iranian leadership side of things would agree to any such meeting, where that would take place, any of those kinds of concerns. In addition to, we don't really have the entire picture of how he is doing, the supreme leader, given some of his injuries. And the president sort of spoke to that, saying that he was, quote, missing a lot of different parts, if you believe the story. So kind of making a nod to the potential challenges on that as well. And we should note, Kelly, that the president hadn't held an open event with the press pool of reporters in the last week or so. He's certainly been doing those interviews that you played, and he's been to the golf course. But just a few moments ago, he did summon reporters to talk about his reflecting pool renovation and a couple of other things. So he is now potentially going to take some questions on all of this, since we haven't been able to see reporters press him on the latest and the status with the Iranian negotiations, if they're still ongoing, what the latest is there. So we'll see if we get anything from that.
That could.
Okay, yeah, that's the end of that. I was hoping that Marco Rubio had been questioned a little more, and the fact that these data centers springing up all over the country had been addressed, or he had been asked about this thing. I think there's something on my newsfeed. I'm going to go find that, and I want to produce some type of content addressing that thing specifically. Now, again, like I said, when it comes to the Ayatollah and Iranians, there's no way on God's green earth that I see them even coming anywhere near or sitting anywhere near Donald J. Trump. I just don't see it because, like I said, he already took a shot at him. I heard he's missing a lot of body parts. They're not going to give him the satisfaction. You know what I'm saying? I think they had a little more dignity than that. So don't look forward to that anytime soon. Anyone. All right. But again, so he did call Benjamin Milikowski, right? And yeah, he did cuss him out, probably even cursed him, who knows? But I don't know if that's going to be enough to curtail Bibi, because I think that in spite of what Trump says in terms of, using profanity or expletives towards him about, being crazy and all that, is going to stop him from, doing what they want to do, fulfilling some aspect of their agenda or their objective. So we're bound to see more exchanges of missile fires and drones from Lebanon and missiles from Lebanon and airstrikes from Israel. As far as, sending more troops into Lebanon, I know that they had this castle and the castle is under attack. So, they've been taking hits. It remains to be seen what's going to take place. As far as the Strait goes, again, I think Trump has his off ramp, and I think he's going to take it. Until that happens, the war continues. Let's put it like that. All right. But do look forward to my next piece on Marco Rubio in the discussion pertaining to or dealing with data centers springing up all over the country and the U.S. taxpayer paying for these facilities. Let's have that discussion on the next tap. Okay. So until then, take care of yourselves and each other.
You can murder a liberator, but you can't murder liberation. You can murder a revolutionary, but you can't murder revolution. And you can murder a freedom fighter, but you can't murder freedom.